Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn, also known as Mental MacGyver. I provide luxury level high performance support and coaching to executives, founders, celebrities, and athletes. With me today, I have Laura Agafitei. She's a strategy and design consultant for the health and wellness industry based in Dublin. I have Karen Loomis. She is the founder at No Moss Brands. She has 20 years as a marketing and branding professional. She's also the adjunct professor at Grand Canyon University, and she is passionate about social change. And I have Cami Travis-Groves. She is a recovering graphic designer, now a transformational coach for creatives. Her third book is titled Inner Growth Workbook for Creatives, and her podcast is called Deep Dive Coaching for Creatives. The question I have today is saying thank you enough? Karen, kick us off.
I was raised with the idea that one, you always say thank you regardless of the level of deed, whether it's as simple as someone holding the door open for you, or if it's somebody giving you a whole lot of money that you needed. Thank you is the right response to somebody gifting or giving or helping you in some capacity. But the question is, I've been around people who thank you isn't enough. And that's so confusing to me, because then I'm trying to figure out, well, if thank you is not enough, what next? Do I need to do a card? Do I need to, years later, do some kind of act that is comparable to the original act? How great do we have to go to make that person feel that we actually are appreciative? Because that's what thank you is all about, is appreciating somebody for something they've done for you.
Cami?
So this question brings up an interesting point of expectation. And if the giver is giving with the expectation of getting something in return, then no matter what you do, is that going to be enough? That's completely outside your control and nothing you need to worry about. If whatever is given to you, you have an authentic response to it, that should be enough. Whether you feel like, oh, I'm definitely going to write a card, this meant so much to me, or thank you in a text might be enough. A reciprocal gift might feel like the right thing. But you're the only one inside your control, so, and you're the only one inside your sphere of influence. So I think if somebody is giving with the expectation of, I'm going to gush over them, or I'm going to reciprocate a gift of equal value, that doesn't feel very good.
Laura?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like for me particularly, it would depend on a different situation or scenario. But for me, I feel like what I do is I'm reciprocating the energy. So if I'm seeing a lot of effort, my genuine response will be more than a thank you, obviously, and that comes straight away. But if it's something that, I don't know, was casual or just common sense, I say that thank you is enough, and we shouldn't cross the boundaries, because there's a fine line where, like Cami says, if you notice that person is doing just because he wants something out of you, it's not normal and it's not healthy, and we shouldn't give into that. So that's why I say it depends on every scenario, and we should pay attention on behaviors and patterns that arrive.
Yeah, that's a good point, Laura.
It's interesting. It occurs to me as we're talking that in English, the only thing you can say thank you can say I appreciate you, but there aren't a lot of words that was too much, you shouldn't have, thank you. Like, what does all that mean?
Yeah. Well, and the language is kind of falls short. There's also gratitude, and operating from a base of gratitude is never a bad thing. My coach and I have done some work with people where we say on a daily basis, operating from gratitude isn't just, well, I'm glad I'm here, I'm glad I survived the pandemic, I'm thankful, but to sit in that gratitude for just a minute and say, thank you, pandemic, for allowing me to reprioritize my life, or thank you, financial struggle that I'm going through right now, so that I can appreciate and better allocate my funds to be closer to how I'm aligned. So in every issue, you can dig in deeper for some gratitude. So Robyn, to answer your question, gratitude is one of the other words, but it also depends on where you're coming from.
You can't really send an email to someone that says, I have deep gratitude for you. Like that does, I mean, you could,
You say, I'm grateful to know you. I'm grateful you're my friend. I'm grateful that you were kind enough to give me this XYZ.
Maybe telling them how they made you feel
Mm.
instead of just say thank you for doing that for me. Just saying, rephrasing that into, oh, this thing that you did for me really made me feel like that, or really changed a situation in my life, or
Mm.
opened my mind. And then the person will see the impact that they had on you. And I think that's where they'll feel that gratitude and will feel like it's genuine. So honestly, communication is also important, because obviously if we use the same repetitive words, they lose meaning. So it's not
Mhm.
going to mean anything to anybody. So
I was just going to say, what happens though when you find out that your thank you wasn't enough? Because if you are saying thank you with genuine, authentic appreciation, and then you find out this individual doesn't feel like you were thankful enough,
Mm.
then you feel bad about yourself, kind of back to Robyn's point, but it's not in my control how that other person reacts to my thank you, but yet I still feel kind of bad that they don't think thank you was enough. What am I supposed to, it puts me in a position of, I don't know what else to do if thank you isn't enough.
Yeah, that's a beautiful opportunity for self-reflection and say, why do I not think that this is enough? Am I allowing that person's opinion of me to override my own opinion of myself?
Mm.
Am I putting more weight in how they value me more than I value myself?
I'm wondering about, what does it mean to manage expectations around somebody's need for being thanked?
That's a hard one. I would venture to say you can't. And we all know you can't control other people's behaviors, thoughts, or feelings. So that's where the struggle becomes, because you thanked with every bit of genuineness you have in your body, and this person refuses to accept that. What does that do to the relationship then?
Yeah, it makes it transactional and not relational.
And you know what, just the word transactional, it's great, Cami, because I was just thinking, if someone says thank you to me and I expected to be paid, like here's an example. When I was very young, I went to the airport, and for the first time ever, I used the porter at the curb and had them check my bag. I didn't know you were supposed to tip them. And so I thanked him with a genuine smile, and he kept looking at me, and I was like, have a good day. And I walked away. It wasn't until much later, like years, that I realized I should have tipped him. So he had the expectation of being paid, a transactional, and I had the expectation of, this is your job, thank you for doing it.
Yeah. Bringing up money into it brings up a whole other thing, because if somebody has lent you a significant amount of money, whether it's for a business or for personal debt or whatever, and clearly you needed the money, you don't have money to replace the thank you with. So now you feel like, well, I know they did a wonderful thing for me. I've thanked them over and over, but I don't feel like they feel like I really am thankful, right?
Yeah, that's a great place to start managing expectations where it comes to money, because it's so emotionally and energetically charged, the entire topic of money, that this is a gift to you, and I would love to see it paid forward or paid back someday, like establishing those expectations. Instead of, here's 10 grand.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody gives like that.
I wish they did. But but Robyn, but the interesting thing about Robyn talking about the tipping part, this same individual that refused to accept people's thanks was a gigantic tipper. Like, I learned exactly the lesson you're talking about, Robyn. Oh, you're supposed to tip the guy who brings your luggage in from your car into the hotel? Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know you're supposed to tip the person who brings you extra blankets to your hotel room. But yet this is the same individual who doesn't take a simple thank you.
Laura, you were quiet for a little bit. Do you have any final thoughts, anything you'd like to add to the conversation before we finish up?
Well, I agree with everything was said here. And I feel like when these situations arise, it's usually a validation problem, as Cami was saying earlier on. And when we see these kind of patterns, in my opinion, what I do is just take a step back and just reflect if it's about me or if it's about the other person. And it's really proactive to do that, because otherwise it's not going to make any sense, and you are going to take everything on your shoulders, and it's not worth it.
Great place for us to end a conversation. So I'm going to say thank you for having this conversation with me. And I look forward to speaking to each of you again very soon.